now open up the public participation for comments of citizens. And our first speaker is Sandra Tuminello. Did I say that right? Okay.
I'm Sandra Tuminello. I live on Breezy Point Drive in Yorktown, Virginia. And education is in my blood. I was a school guidance counselor. I have my master's degree from William and Mary, specialist in school supervision. And my grandkids went to school in Yorktown and graduated and did very well. They both got full-pay scholarships to the West Point Military Academy and to Liberty University. So we were very pleased with our experience with the schools here. I want to know, and I want everyone to realize that for me, integrity, truth, transparency are all so important. And Yorktown has been known for that in previous years, but now there are forces from outside that are trying to make things a little bit on the crazy side. And the transgender policy of 2020 is specifically what I'm talking about. And I know that some people are complaining about the new policy that students can make and parents can make comments on, the Glenn Youngkin policy. But I think that the old policy that's been pushed down people's throats has been based on deception, even lies, lack of transparency with parents, misinformation, and students not being properly guided. Until 2013, transgenderism was considered, it was recognized as a mental disorder. But in 2013, it changed and it was considered normal. So it now has a designation of being just a normal condition. So that really is a game changer for things, and it's difficult to know how to handle it. And it's only been more recently that it's changed by the World Health Organization. I think that was 2019. Once a student is accepted as a different sex, the next progression is then for the body to follow suit. They're thinking a different sex, so the body should be different sex. So there then comes in the hormones, sex change surgeries. And I just read recently that $30 million was spent to Big Pharma last year for all these hormones that are necessary for these sex changes. And the bottom line is, your sex can't be changed. You're born with your XY chromosomes, and it's there to stay. But the main thing I want to do is to emphasize that our students were involved in the policy, that walkout in Grafton, and I'd heard that the board and administrators supported that. I hope that's not the case. And that was written, I think, in the newspaper. And I hope that wasn't the case, because it's okay to disagree, and we all have the right to disagree, but I think our students need to be taught to disagree in a respectful way. Does that mean me to sit down?
Thank you.
I knew mine was long, so I gave you a little written up.
Thank you.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Next is Albert Tuminello.
Here. My name is Albert Tuminello, and I too live at 138 Breezy Point Drive. Madam Chair, it was quite interesting to hear your rendition of the mission statement that you read. It's quite good. And it was quite good to see all these students come up here and the things they demonstrated and the ones you recognized here. That was quite good. But I'm here this evening because I am concerned. Concerned that our school system is becoming a lab for social change. And it should be just that. However, it should be geared to teaching our children and students to be plumbers and electricians, doctors and accountants, strong and able members of our military, and school teachers. You should be teaching them how to become effective team players on our sporting teams, the band, the choir, and debate teams. And based on what I've just said, I think you understand where I'm going, and you see a lot of that. However, so I look to you, members of the school board, and to the superintendent of schools to oversee this ongoing process of our young students to be well-educated, productive, and contributing members of our society as they grow and mature. They're open to many things at this stage in their life, and they need to be guided. That is your job and your calling. It doesn't matter if the student is black or white, gay or lesbian, trans or binary. Your job is to provide the best education possible to all students on the things that I just mentioned about careers and vocations. I think you understand that. I would leave the issue of sex to parents, guardians, pastors, and doctors as needed. And I reiterate, your job must be to educate, not facilitate indoctrination of these young minds on issues about sex that our society, and yes, even here, is pushing upon all of us, particularly those children. I urge you to be diligent, be courageous, and take stands and write policies that produce education and not indoctrination. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tumino. Next, we have Gary Porter.
Good evening. My name is Gary Porter. I live in District 2. Madam Chair and members of the board, congratulations. Virginia has been declared ground zero in the battleground over parental rights and education, and you board members are right smack dab in the middle of it, whether you want to be or not. I don't know whether you noticed this, but Virginia Delegate Elizabeth Guzman, a Democrat from the 31st House District, recently announced her intent to introduce a bill in January that will make it child abuse and neglect for parents to not affirm the gender identity declared by their children. This bill is not going to pass, of course, but her hatred for parents who are not willing to roll over on this issue is evident when she stated she didn't care whether the penalty for this bill became a felony or a misdemeanor. The intent was to make it hard for parents to get a job with a CPS incident on their record. A recent poll found that 61% of Americans believe government-run education is headed in the wrong direction. I couldn't agree with them more. It is indeed sad to watch America's public schools being used to destroy traditional American culture. You 5 elected officials are either knowing accomplices in this project or unwitting pawns. You either know it's happening or you refuse to open your eyes to the truth of it. First time I addressed this board, I read a quote from John Dewey, which revealed that this cultural change project has been going on for at least 100 years. Dewey knew the schools were key to social reconstruction, as he called it. If the schools and curriculum could be controlled, slowly but surely, the reconstruction would inexorably take place right under the very noses of parents. A school district in Maryland recently reported a nearly 600% increase in gender non-conforming students. Can you imagine why this is happening? Is this simply a fad which these confused, impressionable kids will outgrow? Or is the way the public schools are handling this issue contributing to the problem? It ceases to become a fad, of course, when children are offered puberty blockers or pushed into having top surgery or bottom surgery as a way to, quote, become who you really are, unquote. How many kids are going to be harmed by accommodating their confusion? In other news, gender transition surgery is projected to become a $5 billion industry in the next decade. Good place to invest, right? If it were up to me, I would dismantle the entire public school system and start over from scratch. I think the system has been so thoroughly infiltrated by people who want to fundamentally change America and so thoroughly corrupted by CRT, DEI, SEL, and other social change mechanisms that it will be essentially impossible to have it focus once again on simply educating students. And now to the issue most at hand. I suggest this board owes the students and parents of Grafton High and middle schools an apology for disrupting their children's education last month by deliberately violating the provisions of the student handbook and allowing a disruptive political meeting to take place during instructional hours. There's simply no excuse for this unless it was to show favoritism to selected political speech. And yes, it was disruptive. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
the
Mr. Porter.
opportunity to address you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jeanette Gamble.
Good evening. My name is Jeanette Gamble, and I live at 120 Songbird Trail. Am I ready? Okay. You are not parents. We don't of anybody else's kids. You guys do not co-parent with the children or the parents of the kids at schools. Your job is to keep our kids safe, educate them. On the day of the walkout, there was no added security. None was requested from the York County Sheriff's Department. What would have happened to 150 students plus staff that was with them had there been an active shooter? Why weren't parents emailed the day before this event to take place? You stole the rights of parents to make decisions for their children, whether they wanted to send them to school for that or not, to allow them to be a part of it. It seems you used the better to ask for forgiveness than permission approach. You put 150 children in danger because of a political agenda. Grafton High School has a little more than 1,100 students. 10% of them walked out. Some walked out not because they support the reasons behind the walkout, but because they didn't even want to be in class. This was not peaceful, nor was it safe. You are focusing on the wrong percentage of children. You should be more concerned about the 90% of students who want nothing to do with any of the political rhetoric that adults are forcing down their throats. Children should not be protesting anything in school. I was quoted 2 policies by a board member that I spoke to, since I'm not allowed to say their name. One policy was they cannot be discriminated against if they want to participate in a school organization practice. This was not an organizational event. They have freedom of speech. Yes, they have freedom of speech, but that does not mean they get to protest. Even the Supreme Court said that if it causes a disruption, the school has the right to say you're not doing it. That same board member said that because I said that there were staff members that were in LGBT rainbow shirts, whatever they were involved, that he would have them fired immediately if I could tell them. Well, I would say that you have the right as board members to go in and get security footage and find out who those teachers are and do what you said you were going to do. If kids want to have a protest for their cause, it should be on their own time. Taxpayers pay teachers to teach, not these kids with their political agendas. Kids are at school for one reason and one reason only. That's to learn. If parents are so invested in their child's cause, they can help them protest outside of school hours. It is your job to maintain order, safety, and education, not to be the parent. If you won't stand up and do your jobs, you can get replaced next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Linda Fairman.
Linda Fairman from Tab area. You have been elected by York County citizens and parents to know what's happening in our schools, to make sure money is spent wisely, to ensure academics are taught, not social engineering indoctrination, and to keep us informed respecting Virginia's Parental Rights Law 1-240.1. It seems you've left that path. Everyone was so happy when students finally went back to school. Everyone thought students could catch up from their 2-year academic loss. But did you know the only thing that's really changed is the location of the student? That many classes are still only online with digital lessons, classwork, homework, test quizzes while at school. What a perfect system for data mining our kids' info too, huh? What's the point of having teachers in the classroom to explain things and differentiate for students needing extra help if everything is just on the computer? Students are staring at their digital screens all day long. The NIH issued a report that too much screen time leads to obesity, poor health, depressive symptoms, and low quality of life for children. A recent Ed Week article says too much screen time leads to poor behavior. So why CSD's continued online classes are creating the trauma and social emotional problems you're spending millions of dollars to fix with expensive programs and consultants. How does that make sense? Did you know that NAEP, the nation's report card on student educational progress from the Institute of Educational Sciences, shows Virginia is 50th, dead last, in 4th and 8th grade reading achievement and is the only state to not meet the basic level. Math scores are equally abysmal, and that's from before the lockdowns. What is York County doing to improve this serious academic loss? A York County teacher said they were not allowed to attend last week's Yorktown Day to learn about our history, but had a mandatory professional development day that focused on restorative justice, SEL's social engineering, and learning if a student hits a teacher, a discipline report is only written if the teacher is injured. A student hitting a teacher is physical assault and battery, leaving the teacher with injury to their well-being and sense of safety. How will this teach students to be good citizens and improve academic success? Academic focus is being stolen from our children. Parents and citizens are still concerned about our students, what's being taught in our schools, and how our tax dollars are being spent. It's time for you to put your boots on the ground. It's time for you to get back on track. It's time for you to put a stop to the social and political activism during school hours and return to academic instruction. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fairman.
Thank you.
David Dietrich?
Good evening, members of the school board, Superintendent Shandor. My name is David Dietrich, 139 Wilderness Road in Hampton. A sickness pervades America today. I give as an example, I was driving to my workplace a week and a half ago on the highway, and a reckless driver hit me from behind, knocked me off the highway at 60 miles per hour. I rolled into a deep ravine and hit some trees, and landed on top of upside down in my truck. The reason I'm telling you this and why it matters today is that was an uninsured driver. Why is an uninsured driver allowed to drive in this state? Because our legislature allows it, because of some equity, imaginary equity thinking that they should have the right when I have to absorb the total loss of my business, my vehicle, and my health. So what does it have to do with our school system? Well, what's happening in York and Hampton, where I'm from? Students have lost years of their lives that cannot be recovered. And it's a loss to society at large, not just the children today. It causes a great emotional injury. And why is that? It's because of a failure of leadership, just like it was with the legislature and driving. Poor decisions lead to bad consequences. What are the current education solutions today? Promoting perversion in our school system. Why is that? What does perversion have to do with learning math and science and English reading? It's only increasing the ignorance of the students, and it causes destructive behavior, and you've taken your eyes off the ball. You should be the leaders of this school system. Instead of following Satan, you should be listening to God. What is a solution here is to actually teach the children how to be better citizens. Enhanced tutoring, you have to make up for what was lost over the last couple of years. I see nothing in this agenda today, nor do I ever see it in the Hampton agenda, for any focus at all on the actual education of the children. All you do is spend time congratulating each other, and a few students, great, I'm happy for them and they deserve that. But what about the student body as a whole? Instead of excellence, you promote mediocrity in your school system. So finally, you need to consider the reality, the real world. For the last 1,000,000 years, human beings have been either men or women, and children are either men or women, and they need to understand that. Anything that they imagine is not real, and it doesn't help them, and it doesn't help society. We need morality in our schools, and we need a normalcy that we have standards and a culture that we have to abide by. Whose rights are important? Is it desires or rights of the majority of Americans? Thank you very kindly.
Thank you.
Wesley?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Shandor. My name is Deborah Wesley, and I reside at 902 Dare Road, Yorktown, Virginia. And I am the president of the York Education Association. I'm here tonight to say thank you for making compensation a top priority. We recognize that economic issues, past and present, prompt a lot of difficult decisions concerning the budget. Raises, market adjustments, step increases, bonuses, insurance costs all play a part in these difficult decisions. We thank you for the pay increases and the bonuses provided in that budget this year. Respectfully, we ask you to continue to make compensation a top priority so York County can continue to attract highly skilled educators and retain the experienced, compassionate, and committed educators we do have. In addition, I would like to thank you for investing in all of the letters training and the science of reading programs that your elementary school teachers are working so diligently in learning and in teaching our students so that we can promote quality reading instruction in York County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wesley.
Thank you.
Finally, we have Carol Bauer.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Shandor, community members. My name is Carol Bauer, reside at 314 Brook Lane, and I'm a member of the York Education Association. I want to say thank you for your efforts to recognize all the many people who help make our students succeed in our classrooms. On tonight's agenda, you have a proclamation for American Education Week. Specifically in that proclamation, you list some folks that help make the schools run smoothly: custodians, substitutes, bus drivers, and librarians. Those are just a few of the people that help make our schools successful. I want to ask you, all of you, when we get to American Education Week, November 14th through 18th, that you take a moment and think of what our schools would be like without our ESPs or educational support personnel. Think about what a day would be if our bus drivers didn't get our students to the classrooms. Think about what it would be like if our custodians didn't clean the hallways, the bathrooms, cafeterias in our classrooms. In many of our classrooms, think what it would be like if we didn't have our paraeducators who sit side by side with our teachers to meet the specific and targeted needs of our students. These are just a few of the dedicated YCSD employees who we need to help us support our students. And I ask you to think about their compensation. Now, many of those employees can make more money at 7-Eleven, McDonald's, or even Target. So as we talk about American Education Week and we talk about supporting our employees, please consider our educational support personnel and consider increasing their compensation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bauer.